Hey there, bread friends. It's me, Ellen, your crazy baker chick, after a really, really long hiatus. I am so sorry I haven't been creating videos for you for a while. It's just been a lot of, well, we've had some vacations, which is wonderful. A couple of vacations, but we also had some illness in the family, and life gets in the way sometimes. Everyone is okay, and I'm back. I have been trying to create recipes whenever I could. I've been working on this one forever. I think I've made it 6 times, changing things up. I think I finally have it the way I want it. So today I am making beer, cheddar, cheese, bacon, bread. Only I'm gonna make them in little muffin tins for rolls. And I have a reason for that. I'll tell you. You can make it in bread though. I like it better as rolls. So before I start telling you about the ingredients, I'm going to talk about cheesiness. And I don't mean the way I act. I mean, I don't know if you've ever made homemade macaroni and cheese. I would imagine that since you're baking bread, you probably have. My mom had a recipe for this gorgeous, delicious homemade macaroni and cheese. But I'd say, Mom, it's not cheesy enough. And she'd say, well, okay, so add more cheese. I doubled her amount of cheese. I tripled her amount of cheese. No matter what I did, it never tasted cheesy enough. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. I feel like unless you're eating straight cheese or like on nachos or something, you don't taste the cheese. I don't even hardly taste the cheese if I have a cheeseburger. So I thought about it a lot. I asked some friends, and they said, well, why don't you use cheese powder? And I had never heard of cheese powder. So this is cheddar cheese powder. This is the one I have that I'm using right now, but it's only a small bag, and I couldn't reorder it. They say it's for mac and cheese, popcorn, putting on vegetables, whatever. So I have also bought this other brand that's still yellow cheddar cheese powder, and this is from a gluten-free, nut-free factory. And when I shop for things, because I'm allergic to tree nuts, I have to buy things that are made in a nut-free factory, so that makes it even harder for me to find products sometimes. So I'm going to tell you about the ingredients. I wanted it to actually have some beer flavor. And I used Corona first because that's just what I happen to have in my house. And it wasn't beery flavored enough, the bread. So I go, well, Guinness is the strongest that I can think of. I mean, I could have asked some beer experts. I have some in my family. But anyway, I went to the grocery store and I bought Guinness Extra Stout. And what I did is opened the bottle last night, poured it into a container, left it open so it could go flat. So the ingredients are beer, water, a little bit of grapeseed oil. You can use any neutral oil. By neutral oil, that means it just doesn't really have a flavor. That's all it is. Avocado oil, vegetable oil, whatever. I wouldn't use, well, you could use olive oil, but I just don't. So, and then it has bread flour, the cheese powder to up the cheesiness factor. It will also have cheese, obviously. And then salt, butter, yeast, a little bit of sugar. And after I check the dough consistency, I'm going to cut this up into very small cubes. Sharp cheddar cheese. I'm definitely going to be doing it the hard way. I used the shreds. I used the skinny shreds, and they just kind of melted and you couldn't taste the cheese. So I used the fatter shreds, and I still didn't like it. So, yep, I'm doing it the hard way. I'm actually going to cut the cheese. All right, enough silliness. And it calls for bacon, and I am too lazy to cook enough bacon, so I'm going to use these. They're real bacon crumbles, and I get this at Costco, see the Kirkland brand. You can cook bacon, get it, well blotted and make it crispy and then chop it up, whatever you want to do. So we're going to be chopping up the cheese basically as soon as I get the ingredients into the bread machine. I am going to, we're going to turn off the camera in a minute. I'm going to not bore you by how I put the ingredients in the bread machine. You don't really need to see that. With my machine though, it is liquids first, and then flour, and then salt, sugar, butter on the sides, and then yeast. The cheese powder goes in with the dry stuff. But your bread machine may work a little differently than mine, so I don't really like to place a lot of emphasis on order of ingredients because different bread machines do it different ways. And you may have a yeast dispenser, and I don't, and I put it on top. So I'm going to set my bread machine for the dough course. And if you have the same bread machine as me, the Zojirushi Virtuoso Plus, you don't need to have your liquids at room temperature or warmed. You just can put them in cold, butter cold, eggs cold, whatever. I mean, this doesn't have eggs, but you get the idea. And it goes liquids first. So depends on your machine, but I'm going to use dough course. And while the dough is kneading for the first 25 minutes plus the rest, so that's 28 minutes because it has a 23-minute rest plus the 5 minutes I check the dough consistency. And after I know that my dough isn't too wet or too dry, I am going to start adding the cheese cubes before the add beep because it's so much that I just feel like it's easier for it to incorporate when I added it a little earlier than that. It's only 9 minutes early. My add beep goes about 39 minutes in, I think. So, and I'm also going to add the bacon bits, but I'm going to add the cheese first and then I'll start adding the bacon bits. So, and I'm going to show that to you. So I'm going to get the ingredients in. I'm going to start my machine on dough. Then I'm going to start chopping up the cheese. I don't really think you need to watch me chop up cheese, but I will show you the consistency or the size of the pieces that I cut it into so you'll have that idea for yourself. Okay. We are back. I have started the bread machine. It hasn't started mixing yet because, as I said, my bread machine rests and does like a little preheat of the ingredients for about, on dough cycle, about 23 minutes in my kitchen. I think it depends on how cold or warm your kitchen is. So in that time, I took the time to chop up the cheese. I feel like I have cheese under my fingernails. I'll have to clean those out. So they're not all uniform. I chopped them into cubes, but then I kind of, with the knife to chop them a little smaller. Okay, so that's the cheese. And these are the bacon bits. And you see some white stuff, that's flour, because they have a little moisture to them. And just like when you put raisins in a dough, and they can kind of stick together and not distribute, the trick is to put just a tiny bit of flour into the raisins, or in this case, the bacon bits. Just absorb some of the moisture so they don't stick in all in one place to the dough. I just realized I'm so out of practice making these videos, I forgot to tell you something really important. Where to find the recipe, because as you've noticed, I don't tell you in the video how much of this, how much of that, because I just want you to watch the process. Below the video screen on your iPad, your phone, your computer, your Kindle Fire, whatever device you're using, under the actual video, there's a description, and you may have to click the word more. Like you might see the title of the bread, which is Ellen's Beer Bacon Cheddar Bread or something like that. And I haven't even named it yet, see? And so under the actual video, in the white print in YouTube below, there will be a description, and you may have to click the word more, and then it'll open up, and there will be a couple of links for you. The link to the recipe you know, it's a hyperlink. All you have to do is just one click, you go to the description, you click the link, it will take you to my website where it will immediately display a PDF format of the recipe. You can download it, you can print it, you can just look at it, and that's where you can find my recipe and all my other recipes there on my website. And my website name is ellensbreadmachinerecipes.com. And I will have the link for you for that under the recipe link. It'll all be in the same place. So I used to type up all the recipes in the description of the video, and people told me, Ellen, they're very hard to copy and paste. They don't stay formatted. And so I asked my cousin Mikey, can you make me a website, please? He actually offered before I asked. And so the website makes it super easy for you. You can search for all of my recipes there, but like I said, under the video, you look for the description and you may see a word more. When you click on that, it'll open up. One click, easy peasy to the recipe, super easy. So I'm going to be showing you when this dough bread machine starts about 5 minutes in. I'm going to show you how I check the consistency of the dough. It might be too wet, it might be too dry. Have I made this recipe and perfected the ratios? Yes, but that makes no difference because weather and temperature change things. So just because this much flour to this much liquid worked last time I made it doesn't mean it will this time, and I may have to add a little bit of flour, or I may have to add a little bit of liquid of water. So you must check dough consistency every single time you make bread. All right, we're gonna turn off the camera. I'm gonna finally have my morning coffee, and I'll be checking in with you, showing you the dough and such. We're back. My dough has been kneading for about 5 or 6 minutes now because I had to call my videographer to come in. And I'm absolutely amazed always that my dough ball is perfect. You don't want it to be wet, you want it to be tacky, but not sticky. So if dough comes up on your finger, add like a teaspoon of flour and then let it knead a bit and then come back. So this is perfect. So what I'm going to do, starting now, I'm not waiting for the ad beep because it's so much cheese, is I'm going to put a little in. Give it a minute. Not too long. I know you can't really film through the windows too well. And then I'm going to put a little more in. And you get the idea. It'll take me, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 fist dumps, not fist bumps, to get the cheese put in. And then by that time, it'll probably be time to put in the bacon. So I'm going to continue doing this off camera. Again, it's not one of those things that you need to watch me do the whole thing. There is one thing I want to check. Let's come back and look closely at the dough. So the one thing is, because I'm adding so much cheese, it might possibly make the dough a little bit dry. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to do this on camera, but I'm going to add a tiny splash of liquid, like water. And I mean like a teaspoon, hardly anything, because I just feel like it might need it. I might do it. I'm not even sure I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep adding the cheese, and if it seems a little dry, just a splash, and then I'm just going to watch the dough. So that's what I'm going to do. And I will show you when I have everything incorporated, and then show you when it's rising. I have added all the cheese. Whoop, an escapee. I've added all the cheese. It did start to look a little craggy, you know, like a rock, and less smooth. And so I did add just the tiniest, like barely maybe a teaspoon of water. That's it. And now it's a nice smooth dough ball again. So I have all the cheese in there, and in a couple of minutes, I will add the bacon. So this is my add time. So I have the bacon. My bread machine stops when I open the lid. There are different schools of thought, but I actually really like it. I can look through the window, which of course gets dirty instantly, to see what's happening, but it's no problem. There is a myth that you shouldn't open the lid of your bread machine. That is not true. I mean, should you open it constantly and for long periods of time? No. But can you open it to check your dough, to see if it's rising, to, you know, add ingredients? No, of course you can. And I find it more difficult. I have used friends' bread machines before. Let me just look at this. So they are gathering together a bit. So sometimes with add-ins, I do help it along a little because the bacon. All right, it should be okay, hopefully. I've used friends' bread machines at their house, and they don't have the kind that stops, and I'm like, ugh, I don't like it because I'm used to this, but some people don't like it that it stops when you open it, so each to his own. So you can see that now it is on the rise schedule, and it will be done at 10:32 in the morning. You know, that's my time, California, which is about 1 hour from now. I'm at 9:35 and that says 10:32. So now I finally get to chill, but it's going to be rising now. Yay! We're just gonna take a little peek to make sure it's rising. And it is, yay! Okay, so when it's rising, the bread machine keeps it a little warm. So you obviously take a peek, it's rising, close your lid. Please don't leave your lid open for long extended periods of time. But yes, it's okay to open your lid, like I said before. All right, so it is now 10:02, so 30 minutes more. So I'm going to be prepping my pans in just a moment. So I have prepared 2 muffin tins that are 12 wells each. So I will have 24 little rolls. They're not really muffins. They're too dense to be a muffin. They're not so, well, they're not heavy, but I wouldn't call them light and fluffy either, this recipe. Now, do you have to put them in muffin tins? No. You can make a loaf of bread. You could stack little balls and make a pull-apart monkey bread type thing. You could just bake it in the bread machine as a loaf. You could do it however you want. You could make this into hamburger buns. That would actually, I didn't think of that before. That would be quite yummy to have hamburgers on hamburger buns. And to make hamburger buns, you would maybe divide the recipe into either 10 or 12. Make balls of the dough and then just smash them with your hand to make hamburger buns. I do have a hamburger bun video that you can find on my website. If you just type in hamburger, it'll come up right away, how to do it. You could form this any way you want, but these days people are trying to not eat as many carbohydrates. And if I slice this, bake it into bread and slice it, there are maybe, I don't know, 16 slices in a loaf of bread, depending on how thin you slice them. But this is 24 rolls. So that's way less carbohydrates to eat it like a little roll. And it's nice to have a little dinner roll that's different. So, and you could also, if you make them like this, you could use them for little sliders. You could use them, you know, cut them in half, make a little mini sandwich, be the perfect size for like a little kid sandwich. The possibilities are endless, but today this is what I'm doing. I am making them in muffin tins to make little rolls. At about 21 minutes till completion, my bread machine knocks my dough down for just a few seconds, but it still says rise. So after it knocks it down, it just goes on for, I don't know, a minute or so. I've never really timed it. And then it goes back to rising until it's done. 20 minutes, 21 minutes left on it. Before I take it out of the bread pan, I just want to show you how nice a loaf it would have baked into, but obviously we're not baking it into a loaf today. So I have a beautiful, beautiful hunk of dough. You can see it's nice and orangey, which means it's nice and cheesy. I'm very pleased that the bacon did distribute. You can see the cheese is all melted in, which means you can see the shiny grease fat from the cheese on my hands. Now, there are two ways of doing what I'm about to do. I could take my scale, zero it out, weigh my dough in grams, divide it by 24, and get nice even rolls. You can do that. I'm not going to, because honestly, I don't care if they're uniform. But if you want to do that, it depends. Like some people are kind of a little more perfectionist than I am. Basically, I'm just going to cut into hunks. Because I'm not a perfectionist. Well, I guess it depends on the thing I'm doing. I am sometimes. And then I'm just going to start cutting hunks. And then I will do a Robin Hood maneuver where I take some from bigger ones. I'm not even trying to count 24. I guess I could have done that. All right, how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Oh my God. Didn't even try to do that. So this looks like the smallest one. I'll put some there. I'll put some there. Done. Okay. You may go the weighing each one route. Like I said, you put the whole lump of dough on the scale, weigh it, divide it by 24, and then weigh each piece of dough to make sure it was correct. Okay, so you have a piece of dough. This is very soft and very pliable, easy to work with. So I just kind of do this thing where I squeeze it through, and I'm just sticking my finger through the bottom, kind of looks like that. Pinch it. Again, I'm not being super critical. I'm just going to pop it in and go for the next one. You could really even just put them in like this because they rise and they kind of, conform to the wells of the muffin tins. If your muffin tins hold less or hold more, adjust however you want. As I said earlier, you can choose to do this any number of ways. Bake it in a loaf in the bread machine. Bake it in a loaf in a loaf pan using the dough course. You could stack these in a deep round pan like this, one here, one here, and keep stacking. And it would be like a monkey bread pull apart type of a thing. Might be fun to do. You can do this any number of ways to suit your family. As I said before, we're trying to eat less carbohydrates. A slice of bread would be maybe only 16 slices of bread to a loaf-ish, depending on how thin. But this is 24 rolls. So one of these rolls is obviously smaller than a slice of bread. So anyway, we're going to continue doing this off camera because, I don't want to just babble at you while I'm doing this. Then we'll come back as soon as I'm done, which won't be too long, but it'll be nothing for you. And then I'll show you how I let them rise, just in time for the phone to ring. So I feel like some of you might have the idea, or ask me. And I've had this idea too of when I was rolling these up to put a cube of cheese in the middle. Be really honest, I haven't tried it. I may try it someday. If you try it, please let me know, because I think that would be kind of fun. But I was thinking that I have so much cheese in here, like a lot of cheese. So I was thinking it really doesn't need any more cheese. But, you know, it could be something I try or you try sometime. I just wanted to address that because I have a feeling that's going to be a question. So we're going to walk over to my oven over here. My poor videographer had to figure out a way to do that. And I don't have an oven that proofs. I mean, it proofs, but I don't have a proof setting. My oven's a little older. You really don't need the proof setting. I mean, if you buy a new oven or you have a new oven and it came with it, awesome. It's not really that necessary, because all I do for my final proof is turn on my oven for 1 minute. I just use the lowest setting, but really it probably doesn't even matter. And I press start, and then I set my timer for 1 minute. And all I'm doing is setting my timer for 1 minute, and then turning the oven off. Now, if you've watched my videos before, you've heard the speech. Set a timer. Set a timer, set a timer, set a timer. Because if you don't set a timer, you're gonna leave the oven on too long. Even if you think you're watching your timer, something's gonna happen. You're gonna space out, you're gonna get a phone call, one of your kids, Mom, and you're going to have the oven on for longer than a minute, and it will get too hot, and it could kill your yeast and ruin your bread. So I set it for 1 minute, and at the end of 1 minute, I'm turning the oven completely off. Oven completely off. You only heat it for a minute, and you turn the oven off. If you keep the oven on, you're gonna bake it before it rises. See, my timer is over. I'm turning off the oven. And when you open your oven, you're just gonna feel that it's warm. Now, if I touched the heating element, which I'm not gonna do, it would burn. It would be hot enough to burn. And I'm not gonna touch the rack either, just in case. I'm not really sure. It's probably about 80 degrees in there, 80, 85 degrees. Because when I turn proof on my little Breville countertop oven, the proof temp is automatically set to 85 degrees, and it works great. So you can use your proofing on your oven if you have one, and it should be 85 degrees. But honestly, that's using electricity for 45 minutes. So why would you want to use electricity or gas, if you have gas, for 45 minutes when you can turn the oven on for 1 minute and turn it off? And then you're not using electricity or gas for longer than 1 minute. Okay, I'm gonna step off my soapbox now, but we all wanna save electricity, so there you go. All right, final proof is about 45 minutes. That's what I always set a timer for, 45. And I don't just do it on my oven. I do it on my Apple Watch or my iPhone or one of my louder extra timers, because if I'm not in the room or if I'm sitting and watching TV, I don't hear my oven timer anymore. So, hey Siri, set a timer for 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
And
Counting
then
down.
wherever I am, the timer goes off and I can't miss it. And at that point, I'll show you how much they've risen, take them out, preheat the oven, and then we'll bake them. I am back. And see how they rose so nicely. So I'm going to take them out, put them on the counter, and preheat my oven to 350. You could egg wash these if you wanted. I mean, it's a personal choice. Oh yeah, you know what? I forgot. I do want to egg wash these because I'm going to sprinkle. I have some shredded, I think it's cheddar jack cheese. It'll look kind of pretty, so I think I'm going to do that. I've got my videographer back for this part. So I've cracked one egg and just took my hand under the kitchen faucet, put a little water in, put it in. I don't ever measure it. It's maybe a teaspoon of water. So I was thinking that I would egg wash only one of the two trays. And I want you to notice that because I did not weigh the dough and then weigh each piece of dough, that they are not uniform. And I made that decision, but I explained to you earlier in the video, just in case you skipped it, but I explained earlier that if you want them uniform, and some people care more than others, especially if you're making it for, if you're having company and you want it to be all uniform and perfect, you weigh the whole hunk of dough when it comes out of the bread machine, divide it by 24 if you're doing 24 muffin tins, that is, and then weigh each piece of dough in that whatever the 1/24 is. So what I'm going to do is only egg wash one, so you can see what the difference is and you can decide for yourself. So I just happen to have this shredded cheddar jack cheese. I mean, I could be really fancy and take some of my cheddar cheese that I didn't chop up for the recipe and, grate that for you, put it on top, but yeah, I'm done. I don't want to. So I'm just going to put a little bit on top. And I even brought out the bacon bits, thinking that don't really need it for flavor, but just for fun. Like, how chefs, it's all about the presentation. So maybe I'll just do just a little. Try not to have them slide off. I've actually I've put the cheese on top, but I've never done the bacon on top before, so I actually not sure if it will burn. So I'm maybe only gonna do, a couple more with the bacon because it's an experiment. All right, I'm gonna stop there. And I'm going to, so you're going to see what it looks like egg washed. Then you're going to see what it looks like egg washed with cheese, and then also with the bacon. Then you're going to see what these look like with nothing, just so you know what you're going to like better. I'm doing the experimenting for you. So the oven is preheating to 350 degrees, not convection. I don't like baking bread in convection. And everyone always asks with all the recipes, how long? The answer is as long as it takes to get to between 190 and 200 degrees with an instant read thermometer. The estimation is that these will take between 20 and 40 minutes. No, what I'm going to do is set the timer for 20 minutes first. They will probably be close to done, but not all the way done. But I like to set the timer for 20-25 minutes with every recipe to see where they are, because I don't want them to over brown, because they always get brown on top before they're done inside, which means that you cannot go by the color to see if your bread is done. I can't tell you how long it took me to figure that out. I used to have this gorgeous loaf of beautiful golden brown bread. We'd cut into it and it would be gooey and half raw inside, and it would be, what did I do wrong? I baked it for 35 minutes like the recipe said. No, you can't go by that. You have to take its temperature. So I have an instant read thermometer, and I'm not going to stick this into raw dough, but you just stick it in a little bit, just up to maybe about there, and it will tell you the internal temperature, and you want to go right in the middle. You don't have to buy the expensive King Arthur Thermapen. You can actually just get for about $10 this brand. It's called Kaizen. Or no, this is called Instapen, but I have Kaizen ones. And as luck would have it, my oven just heated up. So I'm going to put these in the oven right now. I am going to set the timer for 20 minutes. I will show you what they look like, but they're probably not going to be cooked through, but they might be brown enough that I'm going to tempt them with foil. So I'll check in then. Hello, I'm laughing because my videographer said, well, I have it ready to go. And I'm like, okay. And then he goes, oh, now? So we're just kind of giggling. All right. So as you can see, they're golden brown, absolutely gorgeous. And you think, oh, those look done, don't you? Well, we're gonna find out. So I'm gonna stick the thermometer in this one. Oh, maybe they are done. 207. One of the fatter ones. Yep, they're coming out. So in this case, I did not have to tempt them with the foil I prepared. I'm gonna turn the oven off. And now I have to scramble to get Trivets hot pans because I did not think they were gonna be done so fast. You never know. All right, and I did test the biggest ones. So, come on out, babies. They're gonna come out. They're nice and brown. We'll decide if the bacon doesn't look like it. Well, one piece got a little bit well done, but I don't think they're gonna taste unpleasantly burned. Some people, you know, would care more than others about if the bacon was extra well done on there. So I'm going to get a rack and get something to loosen them. Let's see. A little, there we go. And kind of, look, I sprayed these really well. So I think they're gonna kind of, I do like to just make sure before I start taking them so they don't rip. Yeah, see that one's sticking a little bit more. So I'm going to this, pull them all out. And you know, with a loaf of bread, while you can get away with slicing a thin end off with a loaf of bread, but you really have to wait to slice the whole loaf and show what it looks like on the inside 2 to 3 hours. But in the case of these, we're not going to try and slice them. So that means there is absolutely no reason why we can't taste them now. So I can finish this video, get it uploaded so you can see it. Yay. I'm just gonna get rid of this to my sink. Sorry for the clatter. And they're very, very hot, obviously. I'm gonna get a little plate. And normally I would just use my fingers, but since they're hot, like I could just break it open, but since they're hot, I'm gonna kind of, and they will probably collapse a little bit because it's too soon, but I'm going to do it anyway to show you what the inside looks like. And take a little bite. Now, in my opinion, these do not need butter. I always make the mistake of taking too big a bite on camera and then I'm trying to talk. So I'm gonna take a much smaller bite so that it doesn't look awkward and have my glass of water. So, oh, and they're cheesy. Yes, cheesy, cheesy, cheesy. I'm trying to do it right. They're so good, my friends. Really, really delicious. They are just the right amount of cheesiness. They are not overly bacony. One time, years ago, when I was really still learning, I made some bacon and cheese where I rolled out the dough and rolled them up like cinnamon rolls with bacon and cheese, and I so overdid it that the first bite we're like, and then after we ate one, it was like, oh, too much bacon, too much. It was just felt like I was eating a heart attack. You know, it was just, ugh. So I haven't tried bacon and cheese again for a really long time. I forgot to talk about the beer flavor. You really don't taste it in a strong, separate way. But if you pay attention and kind of, analyze what you're eating, you do taste the beer enough. It's a nice blend. Nothing sticks out. The bacon doesn't overpower, the cheese doesn't overpower, the beer doesn't overpower. It's a nice blend of all of the ingredients. I think you'll be really happy with them. And by the way, if you'd like to make the beer and the cheese muffins or rolls, but not put the bacon, leave the bacon bits out. Still be delicious. If you want to do maybe the cheesiness but not the bacon and add some herbs, if you want to substitute some Parmesan for some of the cheese, I haven't tried that yet, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Another idea, you could add some taco flavoring, taco seasoning, or even just some chili powder and cumin. Could just use the recipe with the cheese, but then add other spices into it. It's your bread. You can do anything you want. Let me know if you make these. Let me know if you make a variation. Let me know if you bake it into a loaf, and if you use the bread machine, or if you use dough course and bake it in the oven. Everything should work. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, when you get to the end of this video and you look down under where the video is, there is a description on YouTube, and you'll probably see the title of the video, and then you should see the word more, and you click on that, and then you'll have the links, direct link to the recipe. You won't have to go looking for it. You won't have to search for it on my website. You'll just click it and it'll go right to the PDF of the recipe. And this video will also be there. If you want to go straight to my website and find it there, the video will also be linked, so you can do it either way, backwards, forwards, sideways, upside down. ellensbreadmachinerecipes.com. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I don't monetize my channel. I'm not making any money from this. So if you don't give me a thumbs up, I just want to see if you like it, but it really doesn't matter. I don't make money from this. This is my retirement passion. I hope you enjoyed this.